the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
We will call the official meeting of the Wednesday, May 12th, 2021 Rockville City Council to order. We have roll call. All members are present. Please silence your electronic devices if it's a kid. And then we are now into item number 5. And before we do, we had a workshop earlier, so there might be an addition. And one of the things the public is looking at your agenda, there's an item that's been added and that's very current, very recent, just today, and that's recommending a closed session. So at the end of the deliberations this evening, we're going to go into a closed session as it relates to attorney-client privilege. When that time comes, we'll do some more state statutes. So, and then there was something that needed to be modified. Bill, you had something, I believe?
When we get to it, I'll bring it up.
Okay, that's going to be in the consent agenda, so we don't need to move the agenda. Okay, what's the wish of the council? Motion would be in order.
Make a motion to approve the new agenda.
Okay, is there a second?
I will second it.
Motion's been made and seconded to accept the amended agenda, which was circulated. All those in favor of that motion signify by stating aye.
Aye.
Those opposed, nay. Abstentions, none, passed, unanimous. Okay, item number 6, approval of the April 2021 bills paid.
Make a motion to approve.
I do have a couple questions on the
Okay.
bills. I do have a couple questions on check number 2,537 and 2,551, which were going to Herbert Construction. I'd like to know what were the hours for the road grading on that? And the total miles that were graded?
That's something you might not have right there. Right?
I don't have it.
Yeah.
It's on the bill. The bills are listed and itemized.
Judy is looking that up at this point. I'm just reminding those that may have a conflict of interest when the time comes, just remember that little detail.
Brian, you don't have a list of the actual hours other than, I mean, I'd have to add it all up.
Yes, each road is listed individually.
Yep. I mean, I think in the actual bills list, it does state the addresses that he had done, like 230th Roush, Half Bend, Glacier, Aggie Beach, Mitchell, again, 230th. So he did one on 324, those, 328, 329.
And then I also noticed there were some on 411 and 412. It just said road grading, it doesn't have anything down on them.
What's the other?
I believe it was 411 and 412.
No, I mean as in the
Oh, the
check
check
number.
number, 2,551, or 2,551.
That is Glacier, Halfman, 131st, Haywood, South River, 125th, 123rd, Spowden, Roush, 230th, 73rd, 227th, 93rd, Ockman, 80th, Mitchell, and Aggie Beach.
Do we
On
have any,
410 and 411.
do we have any idea what the total miles of graded road that is?
Well,
I have no idea what the miles are.
Do we have any? idea?
he indicates like Glacier Road, 1.7, Halfman, 1.7, half. I mean, he just gives us the hours here.
Well, that's just the hours that he's got.
Yep. The lengths of the roads haven't changed, so.
Well, I don't know what the total miles are that they
Yeah.
I just want to know what the hours are on, total hours are on that.
Okay, I can email them to you.
Okay, thanks.
Yep.
Okay, and so if there's anything else, Brian,
Nope,
just
there's
ask
nothing
staff
else.
at off time. Okay, so what's the wish? There was a motion and a second. Is there any other discussion?
No, there was a second.
Okay, sensing none, I'll call the question. All those in favor of the months of April 2021 bills, signify by stating aye.
Aye.
Those opposed, nay. Any abstentions? None.
I would
Passed
abs-
unanimous. Oh,
I would
sorry.
abstain from checks number 20537 and 20551.
Okay, the record will show those two that Brian just abstained from.
I need to abstain from check number 20560.
Okay, very good. And you have those, Judy?
Yep.
Very good. For the public that may not see it, Judy is out here tonight on behalf of Marty, and Marty is out getting some training. So that's why we're having a different voice that's typically there. Okay, we are now item number 7, consent agenda. What's the wishes? Could be done in approval of one motion.
I would like to pull 7B as in boy
Okay. And
for
so-
discussion.
Yep, so we'll, and making a motion for all the balance of them then, Bill?
Yes.
Okay, so a motion's been made to approve all of the consent agenda items A through F excluding B to be carved out for separate discussion. Is there a second to that motion?
I'll second it.
Motion's been made in second. Discussion. Sensing none, I'll call that question. All those in favor of the motion signify by stating aye.
Aye.
Those opposed, nay. Any abstentions? Sensing none, passed unanimous. Bill, please proceed.
The
7B.
reason I'm pulling B as in boy, 2021-24, it's approval of the annual liquor license renewals here in the city of Rockville. And I believe we have 4. I would like to put up for discussion with the council if we want to do anything for these businesses because of the COVID restrictions that they've had. One business actually has been closed the entire time. So I want to put that out for discussion.
Bill, at my warranty, last year, we did give some,
Last year, we did away, we approved not having any liquor
Right, yeah.
licenses.
there you go.
According to
That's it.
what Judy was saying, liquor license runs from July 1st to June 30th, so just to let you know, so the liquor license expires. But as far as what you're saying, I do agree, and I do believe, new liquor license will be in effect July 1st of this year. They've had one hell of a year. I would like to say that we either give them very limited or nothing at all for their renewals.
I'm in favor of doing the same thing we did last year.
Which,
If we're going to help them, let's help them. Nothing. Just give them the permit.
One additional year, any and all
Yes.
of the ones that are
Yes.
licensed in the city of
That'd be
Rockville.
my,
That's a recommendation. Is that in the form of a motion?
that is in the form of a motion.
To dispense any charges for
For liquor
liquor
license
license?
for the upcoming year, yes.
And that is quite, yeah, and I think, Judy, can you verify, is that for sure July? Not that I'm doubting Brian, but it is July through?
Yep. July 1st through June 30th.
Okay, very good, right there it is. Okay, discussion, no, a second to that motion? Is there a second to that motion that Jerry just had?
I'll second that motion.
Okay, discussion.
well, it's really a good step forward to do what the motion is saying. Just wondering if it's fair.
It's fair, I mean, all the businesses are the same, right? I mean, we're just treating everybody alike.
Well, kind of.
Well,
Are there other businesses in the
There's
city
other
that are
businesses.
licensed?
That's where I'm going. I'm not saying I disagree with you.
what other business, well, let's talk about it. Is there any other business that were restricted or closed due to the
You
COVID?
got your cafe, you've got your church, you've got pretty much everything were gatherings.
But does that cafe have an annual license fee?
I don't believe so.
Not through the city.
See, and the bars are still paying their property tax and,
Well, I mean, everybody's still paying their property.
but I'm just trying to come up with how we're being unfair.
I'm not saying we're being unfair, I just,
Well, yeah, I see where you're going with this. We'll be careful with it, but
Well, not only that, they're also still paying their dram law
Dram yeah.
dram law insurance, and which is gonna be high enough the way it is. I mean, if we're gonna give them a break, I would say let's just do the whole thing this year again. I mean,
Sure.
we didn't get
There
any
are-
pushback from last year, did we?
And the only other one would be that if there's like stylists, barbers, those type of folks that also are licensed and they, people were stranded, so they were in due process, not nearly as bad as.
We don't have a barber shop in town, do we?
Well, there is, some of that, several.
Mr. Mayor, Judy, what other businesses come to the city for licensing?
None that I can think of. I
There-
mean, you have your
like the-
tobacco.
Right, but that's a little different deal than this
Right.
here. Any beauticians or barbers or the restaurant, that's all regulated by Stearns County through the
Right.
environment, or through the health
They just have their
department.
water sewer bill.
So we have no jurisdiction over
Well,
that.
other comments? If not, I'll call the question. All those in favor of the motion to suspend the cost of the license renewal for one more year, please signify by stating aye.
Aye.
Those opposed, nay.
I'm going to abstain just because
Okay.
of my situation.
Great. Brian abstains from that. Very good. Very good. Thanks, Jerry and Bill. Let's continue to proceed. That
Motion
took care
to
of item
pass.
7. It passed. Yep.
Mayor,
Oh, yeah.
you still have to act on B, on the resolution.
Oh, didn't we just do that? The
No, what
motion
you
was
did
made
is
to-
you moved to reduce or to waive the liquor fees, the permit fees, but you haven't approved.
Oh, so resolutions 2021-24, approval of the annual liquor license renewals.
I'll make a motion to approve the resolution.
Very good.
With zero cost.
With
Zero.
Yeah, we already voted
Yeah,
on
we voted on that.
I'll
Okay.
second that.
That's a great one. Thanks. So all those in favor, I need a last discussion. Sensing none, all those in favor of resolutions 2021-24, approval of the annual liquor license renewals, please signify by stating aye.
Aye.
Those opposed, nay. Any abstentions? None. Passed unanimous. We are now through the consent agenda. We are now item number 8, department reports, Planning Commission. Bill, please proceed.
We've got 2 items on the agenda tonight. The first one is the Ikemyer Solar Garden conditional use permit. The owner is Donald J. Ikemyer. Property address is 24992 Half Man Road here in Rockville. To construct a new 1 megawatt, 10 acre solar garden is what they'd like to do. The property is zoned Ag 40. Property has about 125 total acres, 10 plus acres dedicated to the solar garden. We did have a public hearing, 18 public hearing notices were mailed out. There was a lot of discussion at the Planning Commission. The Planning Commission unanimously voted to deny. And let me give you the reasons. First, number 1, it does not meet the Rockville Comprehensive Plan. Secondly, it's taking ag land out of production. Located next to 2 parks, one right next door and then one across the road. This solar garden would have no benefit to the city. The cost of, I can't even read my own writing, decommissioning is not accurate, and we heard some public comment tonight about that. I wish that had been brought up at the meeting. The whole area is steep hills and ag land. We talked about the eyesore, and I know this particular company is not responsible for the one on 137 going into Belle Claire Acres, but that is a tremendous eyesore. It looks terrible. Those are the reasons that it was denied.
Okay. You've heard the comments from the Planning Commission Chair. What's the wishes of the council? A motion would be in order.
I'd like to comment a little bit on some of that. I mean, you're talking about the comprehensive plan about taking ag land away from. Right now, you also look, the next one we're going to be doing is we're taking away from ag land to do the Ichi. I mean, granted, yes, that's going to be a big tax base for the city of Rockville. We just took ag land away on the other side of Highway 23, and you made it into industrial one there also to have some storage sheds put up, which is going to probably be nothing much to the city of Rockville. I don't believe, and I know exactly where the land is. They're saying 10 acres of land. We've already been told a couple different times tonight, it's anywhere from 5 to 6, 7 acres. The land where it's at, It's not gonna be an eyesore, you're not gonna be able to see it from the County Road 139. I believe that's 139.
Yep.
You're not gonna see it from the park. 'Cause like I said, I know exactly where the land is, I didn't have to go out there to see where it is. I've been out there plenty. The land is not in that great a shape. I mean, it is hilly and stuff like that, but that's all up to the, whoever's gonna be would wanna put in the solar towers to do what they need to do.
Maybe just to clarify, Brian, the Rockville Comprehensive Plan has nothing to do with taking ag land out of production.
But it also,
It has nothing to do with that. And if you do drive on 139 coming from the north, you can see it as clear as a bell.
you probably ain't gonna be able to see hardly any of it as you're driving, coming from.
Well,
I know.
We drove it, and we saw the people standing up there, we could see them clear as daylight.
So, and then also.
And I'm not- sorry, I'm-
The comprehensive plan too, from what I've been told way back when Jerry Bechtold originally set the comprehensive plan up, was that everything, the city's supposed to be expanding from the core out. This is the closest thing to the core that we've been approving over since I've been on, the last 6 months. I mean, this is just, it's something that's going to take, right now, all the energy that you're getting is basically being done by nuclear. It's coming from coal that's being burned, it's natural gas that's being wasted, everything like that, because I know I worked on the power plants and stuff. This is something that is going to be saving our natural resources. Now you've got something that's coming in that has a chance to basically power the whole city of almost the whole city of Rockville, is what it is. And all it is, you're using the natural resources of the sun rather than burning up all the coal and the natural gas that the byproducts are. I don't think so. My personal opinion is that I believe we should approve this. It's something that is going to be, you're not going to be able to stop, growing as things start to grow. I mean, they're looking at saving all the natural resources. You got to get rid of the nuclear power, because the nuclear waste on that stuff is just tremendous. We're trying to go all clean. I mean, that's that's what I agree on. So, I mean, for the little 6 acre, they said it's 10 acres, but I've heard twice tonight, from two different people talking, it's 5 to 7 acres. And then once it's built and stuff like that, they want to put in wild grasses and what else is best for that kind of land?
That's what they did on 137, go take a look.
Go ahead.
No, go ahead.
One of the things that popped in my mind just now, and that is, it's XL, and so is there any spots that are in the city itself that are eligible to hook up to the grid because most of it
I think
is
most of downtown
our
is-
Stearns Electric, right? In the rural areas, are Stearns provided? So do we know, anybody know offhand if there is any other spots or something like that?
Nope.
Because otherwise, we're kind of
Thing isn't downtown, isn't most of Rockville XL?
in the city itself, but you know, we aren't
Downtown
gonna
is
push,
just
yeah,
get
but
up
you aren't
and
gonna
up
push
the hill,
over,
that's all.
yeah, not gonna push over buildings to.
No, I think most of everything on this side of the river, on the north and west side of the river is Stearns.
There's only one other spot that I had, and I was just curious if anybody else had done the research, and I had found only one other spot that was shared with me that was even feasible to have it hooked up so that it would be providing power to XL or something like that. Other comments, questions, as it alludes to?
Well, I just did a little math here on this flyer that Donnie had handed out. The coal that this would take out of being burned, going to his numbers, on 1,722,466 pounds a year, which actually would be 34 tons per year, not 24. That's only, and I'm just trying to put this in perspective, Sherco Power Plant burns 220 carloads of coal a day.
Used to.
34 tons is only a third of one car. So if you take the math and you put the masses of try to cover enough solar and wind to go to a zero carbon in 2050, these things are going to be covering everything. Now, if this is such a wonderful thing, how come XL isn't building these themselves? Everyone that XL's used is a private company that's coming and selling the power back to them. XL is going to be the one that's mandated to come up with a green source of energy by 2050. I just don't understand the lucrativeness of this. There's a bigger thing here that we're not seeing. I'm not saying this is a bad thing. It's just that I don't want to see our whole city covered up with solar panels or windmills.
I don't think you're gonna ever see the windmills. It's just like Mr. Ikemyer was stating too. He said, this is not an area for windmills. I mean, if you were down in the southwestern part of the western part of Minnesota, where the windmills are, the south part, there's hardly anything for hills, there's nothing for trees, that's why their windmills are down in that area.
Thought there was a windmill at Grand Lake.
Oh, maybe one?
No, I'm just asking.
I don't know.
Okay,
I mean, if you're looking for, the big windmill farms and stuff like that, I mean, you're not gonna find anything in this area.
The closest one here of windmill farms is Sauk Center,
yeah, Padua and, oh, yeah.
Padua. And there's one,
And that's all wide open on that.
there's a huge one out by, it's actually through South Dakota and into Minnesota, out by Ortonville and Millbank. And if you've been by them, same with the one in Sauk Center, there's a red light that flashes on top of them, and they're all synchronized. And if you have 100 of them, you can see 100 of them across the whole horizon. And to me, that's an eyesore. You sit there like me driving at night and you're going down the road and you see this blinking light constantly at you for miles, it gets to you.
That part I can understand,
And-
but like I said, the area where this is at, if you're driving at night, you'll never know it's there.
No, not those.
And if you're driving even during the day coming from the north, unless you are purposely looking, if you're just driving down the road, you ain't really gonna see nothing up there.
They reflect quite a bit.
Okay,
If I can comment, Mayor, I've
Sure,
had some experience with solar farms and solar gardens in other jurisdictions. And a lot of the concern is with the appearance, the aesthetics, the glare, because there is a significant amount of glare that does come off. So you want to make sure that they're appropriately sited, or that are there any conditions that could alleviate that? And that's the balancing act that you have to do with the conditional use permit, because it is considered a quasi-permitted use. You have to consider whether there are any conditions you can place on that permit that would alleviate those issues. So I understand one of it is the aesthetic concerns, because a lot of times these solar gardens go in and they either have no landscaping at all around them, or there's landscaping that dies. So that certainly the council should consider whether that can be alleviated with a bond or with a maintenance agreement, a maintenance requirement that is recorded against the property that, would trigger a termination of the permit if it's not followed. The decommissioning, I have seen all over the board how much of a cash escrow has been required for decommissioning. So I don't fault his numbers, but I've seen other cities, some require $25,000 cash escrow, some require $45,000, $55,000, $65,000 cash escrow. And of course, it does depend on the size of the garden. So that's another consideration. I think we do need to make a specific, have a discussion about specifically why it doesn't meet the comprehensive plan. So I haven't looked at the comp plan with regard to this area and what it's guided for. But it does concern me if it is in proximity to where we see development going, because once a solar garden is in, if it's something that we have to develop around, that can be very difficult. We can't run infrastructure past it and recoup the cost of that infrastructure. This one, 5 acres, it seems relatively small, and if it is buried in the middle of the farm, which it appears to be, we might not have that concern that it's going to impede development for 25 years.
One of the things that I was an observer at the planning and zoning meeting predominantly, and one of the things that I sensed from quite a number of the commission members was the limited amount of dollar value for the, in the conditional use permit that could be modified to get it higher, some of that. And then Mr. Pat Weir shared briefly in the earlier comments about the recycling of solar panels and stuff like that. And I believe Martin Bodie stated at that meeting that Wade Park had something in the range of 50,000 or so. I don't remember exactly. Bill, you might recall.
Well, I heard from 50 to 100 and some thousand.
Because this amount was not very high, and I think that's one of the things, if we're looking at it, if there is a concern about the aestheticness, that's one thing, but the permanent recycling was very prominent on the commissioner of the group. Quite a few of them brought that up. So how would we address that to have another value that we would counteroffer, or well, I guess we have to sign it, first of all, up or down.
Right.
And then if we do go and have a motion that it would say that we're going to give the conditional use permit, that we want to have that permit or that condition added prior to the motion.
Yes.
Yes. And that's one of the things that I feel we need to raise, and probably 50,000 or something like that as a minimum.
I've been talking to some people about this. Stearns County regulates these solar farms in the townships. I talked to Angie Berg. She seems to be the one leading the charge on these. And they kind of have the same concerns that our planning commission had about decommissioning these things. Stearns County requires $185,000 cash in an escrow to decommission these things. She says, absolutely don't require a bond. Bonds are too hard to get at. That's what she told me. The other thing is they try to stay under 1 megawatt because then they don't have to pay higher taxes. And that's a couple of things that our planning commission could look at. I thought it was I was at the planning commission meeting. Without being too rude, I want to say I thought it was a poor presentation. Our members had a lot of questions that didn't get answered. They had a lot more information tonight. I was on the planning commission for 13 years, and nothing irritated me more than when we'd spend a bunch of time on something, we'd make a ruling, and the council would go against what we said. So with that said, I would recommend we turn this back to the planning commission. I think it's a bigger thing than the Ikemyer farm. I think the planning commission needs to take a harder look at what they want in an escrow. I think their questions should be answered to satisfaction. And I'm not saying that they need to approve it or not approve it, but it went down by all 5 members. So I, for one, would not be one to pass this thing without the blessing of the planning commission. And I think the proper thing to do is have it go back to them and take a look at it, because we need to get something in place for the next person that comes. We can't deny this person and then next year someone else wants a solar farm. I think we need to be consistent in this. And I think we should start with the planning commission. That's what they're there for.
I got a question for Sue. Because this was an applicant that came in, planning commission turns it down. Now it's in the council's lap to ratify this. If we turn it back to the planning commission, like Jerry's suggesting, do we have some 60-day rule that we have to worry about?
We do have to worry about the 60-day rule. Us sending it back to planning commission doesn't restart the clock. It still begins when the applicant had the full application filed with the city.
But the city can extend that
Yes.
60-day rule.
Well, and the other thing because if the council would turn it down tonight, just outright turn it down so that that clock stops, does that jeopardize them coming back?
Yeah.
I believe so. I believe they can't reapply for a period of, it's either 6 or 12 months.
Right, 12 months. But I think Jerry's got some relevance there, and that's saying we can have that and turn around and have the next planning and zoning and still not be jeopardized by the 60-day rule, because the packet was not complete the first time around. And so the packet was just finalized just a couple of days before the planning and zoning meeting. So the 60-day rules, we would still have another planning and zoning meeting and a city council meeting before the 60-day rule is up. And then if the applicant cares to agree, as a council, if we run out of time and don't have the right information, then we can ask for that extension and they will honor it. And if not, then we deny it at that time. Yeah.
So I'm thinking, would we want to basically table this for the moment? Or-
Uh,
and
So
send
we've
it
done
back-
that
make no-
before, turned it back to the planning commission.
Yeah, yeah,
And
Table it?
I think the appropriate motion would be to send it back to planning commission.
yeah.
Is that a form of a motion then?
It is.
I will second that motion for Jerry,
Uh,
to send it back to the planning commission.
To a time certain of, we can't just.
I suppose the next planning
Yeah.
commission meeting.
Yeah, because otherwise they would,
That's a
Yeah.
month, so
Yeah.
it should
Okay.
be adequate time to come up with some answers, and hopefully they can satisfy their questions, and I just feel that's why we have the planning commission. I'm not gonna go against the planning commission when all five of them had a problem, and I would hope that maybe we can align our rules with the counties. They seem to have their ducks in a row, and they are concerned about the panels, just like our planning commission was, so I guess it would probably be up to the applicants to come up with some good answers and see what can happen.
yeah. So a motion to postpone to a time certain, that no action is taken tonight, postpone to a time certain of planning and zoning and city council the next regular city council meeting. And then we would still be within that 60-day rule.
And we
And-
can double check that, because we
Yeah.
can send a letter just extending the 60 days
Yeah.
if we're not going to meet the deadline.
Before I call that question, well, maybe I should call the question, but if not, we should have certain conditions. And one of the things that I'd like to have on the record, Judy, and that is to make sure that the value of that
Decommissioning.
decommissioning, yeah, the value of that's either cash or if it's a bond, but certainly have some credibility there, or something like that, to
Well,
get that
I
up to
think what
value.
Jerry brought up,
I would- go ahead.
And your suggestion we mirror the county, I think that's a good idea.
Yeah.
Well, and the other thing I would hope the planning commission may consider, and it would be probably a tool to regulate this, is maybe we require it, to be more than 1 megawatt. It could be taxed as commercial. Is that something we want?
And I don't know if that's
And
something
I
that,
think you were very appropriate when you said
let the council.
it wasn't a good presentation. We went off what was presented.
I don't
And now
think,
tonight
right.
we heard different
I
numbers.
guess I would have done the same thing, because you had several questions that were not answered right. They had more information tonight than they did your planning commission meeting.
Thank you.
Okay, I sense we're ready to make a call here on the question, and that is to postpone to a time certain of the next regular city council meeting. So if there's no other discussion, I'll call the question. All in favor of that motion signify by stating aye.
Aye.
Those opposed, nay. Any abstentions? Passed unanimous. So Judy, make sure that Marty, if he's not back, get that information to the Ikemyers and also to Pat. I know they're in the room, but it's still the formal process or something. And maybe just Susan, if you would chime in. We don't want to do something wrong.
Second thing on our agenda item
Okay.
tonight is the property rezone, the Ichi SPS Incorporated. The address is Outlot C of plat known as Rockville Crossing, to rezone Outlot C of Rockville Crossing from Ag 40 to I-1 and amend city comprehensive plan. Property is zoned Ag 40. Total plat area is approximately 7.25 acres. Purpose is commercial development. Property was annexed into the city of Rockville June of 2018. Outlot C was final platted on April 21st of this year. Public notices were sent out We did have one gentleman appear that was for this. Planning Commission is recommending approval.
Okay. You've heard the recommendation of the planning and zoning. What's the wishes of the council?
Make a motion to approve.
2021-115.
I'll second that.
Motion's been made and seconded to advance the HE 2021, rezoning from Ag 40 to Industrial 1. Any other discussion?
Just a footnote to that.
Yep.
This isn't pertaining to the SPS project, so just.
That would be the one, yeah.
Yep.
And that's on page 107 if the public is on the
So
packet.
just so the people are aware.
Yep, good point. Good one, Brian. Yeah, and that's, last month it was done to proceed with it. Now this is just to get the thing properly rezoned. Okay, I'll call the question. All those in favor of that motion signify by stating aye. Aye. Those opposed, nay. Any abstentions? None. Pass unanimous. Number 9, streets, 2021 street project scope engineering. Justin, please proceed and give us some highlights, and then we have a resolution that looks like we need to act on.
Yes, thank you, Mayor and Council. So you should have all a memo that was routed today from myself. That outlines, it's just a follow-up with some additional costs based on the pavement management report that was presented to you in February, and your action that you took on a recommendation on how to move forward with doing potentially a larger project to address all streets rated in the 3 to 5 category at one time. There's a map included on the 3rd page of what we would, I guess it's kind of our second go around from the pavement management plan of what we would propose for type of reclaim or overlay or seal coat based on the what we're seeing in the field. Again, this still hasn't, I would say, gone into great detail where we're looking at individual street segments out in the field. We're doing that right now. That's currently in the process. So there might be a few tweaks as we continue design. The other thing we haven't done yet is doing any soil borings or doing any cores of the roadway, so that's other work that we're looking at doing. But this is far enough along, and I'm confident it's at a level where we have a pretty good number there of 4.8 million with the roads that are identified as proposed. And the next step in the process from a financing and bonding perspective, included in your packet is on page 115 and 116 from Jason at David Drone and Associates, is a memo from him and a resolution following. Would be next step regarding the bonding process would be to call for a public hearing. And that is proposed on your next regularly scheduled June meeting, being June 9th, thank you. And that's a public hearing where the public would have an opportunity to voice comment concerning the proposed plan, the proposed financing. They're following that as a 30-day reverse referendum option, as noted in the public notice. And then following that, if there's no petition submitted to the city, then the city could proceed with the bonding process. As far as the schedule for the street work itself, I do, at some point, I do want to get some input from the council on a few particular of these roadways. I've noted a few of them in the memo, two of them being Lake Road and Pleasant Road. Pleasant Road, we've talked in the past about possibility of water main extension down the road. So it is proposed right now in that 4.8 million is a reclaim, so complete replacement of the pavement only. That's what the cost is that's included in there. So that would be a discussion that the council should have at some point is just to make sure that that's the route you want to go, or if you want to go a different route with potentially looking at water main. Lake Road, we've talked a little bit about Lake Road, that being from County Road 6 to the south to Lena Lane. Was reconstructed in the early 2000s with the sewer project. It appears like it hasn't performed as well as some of the other roadways. So I'm a little concerned about what's underneath there. I've looked at the record drawings, I've looked at the records. It's unclear to me about what exactly is there for base material and sub-base material. So I think we need to do a little closer look at that before we spend money on that roadway. Do some borings and do some cores
make sure we're going about it the right way. The other thing that I wanted to, I guess, get input, whether it be tonight or a future meeting on Lake Road, was things related to drainage along Lake Road. And I know there's a lot of driveways, and I'm just not sure how, I've heard a few complaints about, snow plows going into the yards, and I don't know if parking is an issue or people driving on yards. If that's all okay and good, that's fine, but if there's other things that should be considered regarding potential curbing or other things, that would be something I'd want to get your input or consideration on. A few other roads are kind of borderline between reclaim and overlay. They're right on that verge. They're to the point where I probably recommend, and as I have it shown in the packet, I am showing overlay on them. I guess the reason I want to just point it out to you is I feel like overlay is the correct maintenance treatment on them right now. They are going to reflect through because they are a little bit further along than some of the other roadways. They're going to show the cracking through a little bit quicker than some of the other roads. I think dollar for dollar, that's probably still your best bet. But I want to make you aware of it because in 5 to 10 years, when you see that roadway deteriorating a little bit quicker than some of the other roadways, you got to remember that, that was a half cost fix than the other one. I still think there's enough left underneath there that it's probably not worth reclaiming. But if you're expecting that you're not going to touch any of these roads for another 20 or 25 years, then overlay isn't the way to go. Does that make sense? I hope I'm not talking in circles. But,
Justin, just talk with Marty, and I briefed the council earlier. I'd like to have the RTU sit down with you and Gene, and we can go through this stuff.
Yep.
Make a recommendation to the council on exactly what you were talking about, if we're gonna piecemeal some stuff out or add some stuff, or what our thought process is. So it's just a little less for the council to work over and digest all at once, and then be ready for the public hearing. So I'd like, if we're doing the public hearing the 9th, we got almost 4 weeks before we gotta get together. I'd like to probably do it in like two weeks, if that works for you. Because then if we're done, we could have this for the council at the next end of the month meeting to kind of talk about a little bit.
Okay.
So tonight, our job is to approve the public hearing for June 9th.
Correct.
Yeah.
so that being said, I didn't get a chance to talk to Marty before he left last week, but I am out of town, out of the country on June 9th, as a matter of fact. I don't know if I necessarily need to be here for the public hearing. I mean,
No.
but I
Probably not.
We can, I think it's paramount for us to set that date.
To gather in.
I mean, as long as I think somebody has the information that he
Yeah.
has, so we can kind of relay it a little bit.
Yeah.
If anybody has the questions on it.
I think what you've got here is great.
Yeah.
Yes.
And this is, the public would,
Yeah, keep
I
it
do.
simple. Yeah.
Yep, it's very good.
And so if we get the
Can I ask you a
public
question?
date, go ahead,
How long of a bond would we be proposing?
15 years.
15 years what's proposed right now in the David Drone.
So would it be fair to assume that if we're gonna have a 15-year bond, do we try to, you talked about reclaim and overlay, okay?
Mm-hmm.
If you did a reclaim, are you suspecting that road will last 15 years?
Longer.
It would last,
That's probably a 25 to 30 year. If you take care of it, you seal coat it, you crack fill it. you take
where I'm
care of it.
going with this is if we take out a 15-year bond, how can I phrase this? We want to do the roads so they go the life of the bond.
Right. You don't want
yeah.
to start doing road maintenance on when you still have bond left on
Right,
it. Right.
okay, all right, yeah.
So I'm going to go ahead and make a motion to approve Resolution 2021-25
Yep.
for the public hearing to be held June 9th here at City Hall.
I'll second it.
Okay, motion's been made and seconded to have a public hearing slated for the next council meeting, and that would be shortly after 6 then, I would imagine. Yep.
Are we going to have numbers for that? How much of a bond we're proposing?
Well,
It's
that's.
all right here.
It's all
It's all right here.
4,910,000.
coming right there.
But I think, Jerry, the important thing is that we have the RTU also
Yeah,
look
I
at
agree.
it. And then I think before I call a question, the council certainly has shared in the public, for the public purpose, that we want to make sure that we don't raise taxes.
Yep.
And this would be a great way of doing it. And so if we can't do it with the value of the bond, depending upon where the value of the bonds come in, and also at the rating, and then also, even if we get the bond sold and then we don't bid it until later, all of that is down the road. But if we don't have the public input and the public behind us, all of this becomes a moot. So this is very important for us, and if we can circulate this information and it's not proprietary or something like this here, that Marty can get that out to the public. So when the take come here, and the RTU gives it the blessing, we're well on the way, and a lot of us council members and members here remember that that's what we've heard for a long time, and this was one way of solving that road issue. It's been
Okay,
forever.
let's move
So
on.
I'll call the question. All those in favor of motion, of the resolutions 2021-25, please signify by stating aye.
Aye.
Those opposed, nay. Any abstentions? None, passed unanimous. Please proceed, 9B. Thanks, Justin, for putting that up to this point.
So did you cover B and C?
B and C.
Sorry, what was B?
Lake Road, stormwater, Pleasant
Issues.
Road, water
Yeah,
extension?
yeah.
Okay.
Talk about that RTU then.
And that
Okay.
would be all that, and then the water extension, okay. Administration, anything, Judy, that we have? No council action from administration. We are moving to item number 11. Repeal council action of item number 7 of the April 28, 2021 council meeting, the new Public Works Building. What's the wishes of the council?
I want to make a move to repeal or rescind the action on item 7 of the April 28th, 2021 council meeting regarding the new public works building.
Okay, and that's in the form of a motion. Is there a second to that motion?
I'll second it.
Motion's been made and seconded. Is there discussion? Sensing none, I'll call the question. All those, and just for the sake of the public, there is a committee that's working on it to try to work on that, and so that's what this is all about, to try to figure out how we can be realistic in our values that we have for the new Public Works Building. So without further ado, all those in favor of that motion to repeal the council action of the item 7 of the April 28, 2021 council meeting, please signify by stating aye. Aye. Those opposed, nay. Any abstentions? Sensing none, passed unanimous. At this point, I think we're down to closed
Before
session.
you move any
Yeah,
farther, Dwayne,
please.
so if I'm understanding correctly, you and Bill are gonna be meeting again yet to come up with a little
That's what
better
we're trying to
plan?
do, to come up with some numbers for
We'll
you
bring back
guys.
a recommendation.
Okay,
Yeah.
all right, perfect.
Yeah.
All right, sounds good, thank you.
Okay, and so at this stage of the game, we will go into a closed session per state statute 13D-.05 subdivision 3B, attorney-client privilege to discuss active and pending litigation. So anyone that would not need to be in the room as it relates to this, please.
Bathroom break.
Yeah, bathroom break, and then we will reconvene. This is the only one that's left, and we'll just have a summary of the closed session, and then we will adjourn. So, thank you very much, and we'll continue in short order. Very good.